Deputies Cornu, Mezec, Sam Mezec and Nicola Cornu, congratulations on your election success. How did you win?
Primarily, I think it was hard work. Nick and I put in a lot of effort into our campaigns. We knocked on doors, sometimes 2 times, 3 times at the same place, just to remind people that the election was going on. We got our faces out there. We were lucky to have the support of some really helpful people. In particular, Deputies Tadyer and Southern were really helpful in our campaigns. All sorts of people came out to endorse us. The former deputies that held these seats, Trevor and Shona Pittman, came out to endorse us, which I think was really helpful as well. As well as that hard work, though, I think we both distinguished ourselves as candidates. It was clear, looking at the ballot paper, who the different candidate was and what they stood for. Our campaigns, I think, showed a different sort of politics. It showed a sort of modern 21st century style to how we campaigned, and we ultimately had the right politics as well, I think.
So you're both part of Reform Jersey. What is, or who are Reform Jersey?
Well, that's a new political grouping, organisation, probably political party, that will be representing the other Jersey, the one that's currently excluded, the working people, and new liberal values that are non-judgmental. That's how I would put it.
And
well, yeah, it was originally set up primarily to campaign for a more democratic electoral system. The system we've got at the moment really underrepresents St Helier. So inevitably the focus is going to be on St Helier because it's St Helier that's drawn the short straw in our democracy. But you can't look at it as just an electoral system. When you start to look at it, you see everything else that comes from that as well. You see a politics that doesn't just neglect St Helier politically, but also socially and economically. And it's all interlinked, and if you start looking at that, you can't help but look at the other subjects as well. You say, well, you know, why doesn't the states pay parish rates in St Helier, for example? St Helier ratepayers have to pay more to subsidise the rest of the island, and you connect that with its lack of political representation. Knocking on doors, you hear issues like 0-hour contracts, living wage, and it's the St Helier representatives that are pushing that forward in the States. So when you connect all these things together, you realise that you need a wider movement than just for a more democratic electoral system. You need a group that's going to look out for the interests of ordinary working people and sort of try and bring social democratic principles into our politics and bring it into the 21st century and change how it's done so that it's inclusive and so that it sort of make sure that all sections of Jersey society are adequately represented, because they're not at the moment.
I suppose that brings the question, is Jersey ready for 21st century democracy? So on that context, what do you hope to achieve in your short term in office before the general election? How are you going to achieve it? And what is the long-term goal of Reform Jersey?
Well, we can only be effective if we have mobilised working people. We've got 70% voter abstention in St Helier. That has to be addressed. That's essentially working people who are totally frustrated.
How are you going to address it?
Through organisation, through creating Reform Jersey, by bringing supporters in who feel part of an organisation that represents their social and economic interests, and an organisation that actually provides assistance, whether it's at social security tribunals, the employment tribunal, advice on housing, advice on how to get things done within a very bureaucratic system that is Jersey.
I think leading by example will be the main thing. If Reform Jersey States members show that they have a track record of being people that ordinary working islanders can count on, if you know, throughout history, certain politicians have had a reputation that if you've got a problem, this is the person you want to go see. Former Deputy Norman LeBrock was renowned for that. If you had a problem with social security, you went to him because he would sort you out. So we want Reform Jersey has got to be associated in people's minds, knowing that these are the deputies that are looking out for ordinary Jersey. These are the people that are pushing on issues that really matter to people. Things like, as I said before, zero-hour contracts, living wage, cost of living. These are the big issues facing ordinary islanders at the moment. And people eventually can feel some sort of association. And we want sections of Jersey society to be able to look at politics, and not just Reform Jersey. The other sides of politics in Jersey should organise themselves into their own organisations and parties as well. And so it becomes more professional in a sense, and people can see the line.
Are we looking, listening to what you're saying there, are we looking at a party political system? Is that part of Reform Jersey's?
Well, Jersey's currently a one-party state. Since the elections in 1948 that were won by the Jersey Progressive Party, they've been in power ever since, and there hasn't really been a proper opposition. What we need is a pluralist democratic system, so that the electorate actually has a choice of policies. It has manifestos to look at, and there will be accountability to those manifestos amongst the political group. As soon as Reform Jersey is successful, and it will be, the establishment will have their own party.
It's a fundamental principle of democracy that you have to be able to throw out a government you don't like. Now, in October, say we have an election in October similar to the last election. If you're not happy with the government we have now, how do you put your cross on your ballot paper to signal that you're not happy with the government and you want to throw it out in place of another one? There's no mechanism for that whatsoever. And that is the fundamental point of democracy. In the UK, if you're not happy with the coalition government, in 2015 you can go and put a cross by the Labour Party candidate. You know that is to signal that you don't like this government and you want a new one. It takes away the real scourge of Jersey politics is that at the moment it's based on personalities. People get elected because of their name, because of their record in something that's not political, or because of their connections. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about policies. It should be about a collected and coherent vision for the island and its future. And the only thing that can do that is if we have a system in our elections where it's above the candidates themselves. It's for a wider vision, and that's a party.
What Reform Jersey will do will be part of the education to working people to clarify where their interests are around a set of principles and ideas and values that they can clearly identify with, knowing and being certain and guaranteed that that political group will represent them. At the moment we've got individuals who say one thing and do another. We hear that constantly on the doorstep, and the reason is because there's no accountability for those particular individuals to anything larger.
Okay, so party politics is the way forward as far as Reform Jersey is concerned. Mm-hmm. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
So I just want to come back. I want to come over to a thing. Professor Adrian Lee. He's a expert on politics and small jurisdictions. He said that both your online presence was a factor in your successful election. Do you believe blogs, citizens, media is becoming more influential, even mainstream, dare we say?
Well, part of the problem in Jersey is the mystification that people don't have clear analysis of the structures of society, how politics works, how the economy works. They desperately want that kind of analysis. Reform Jersey will be doing it online, through the blogs. Sam and I have got our own blogs. There will no doubt be a Reform Jersey blog to which the media will refer for our position on important issues of the day.
Exactly. It's part of what distinguished us as candidates. You could go on either of our blogs and you could go back years on those blogs and find out what we have said on political issues as they've come up. You could see how we've argued for our position. You can see how we connected points together, and you could see how our positions have changed over time as well. And you get an understanding of that political frame of mind, and it's comprehensive and accessible. If anybody wants to ask me a question about my politics or get in touch, all they've got to do is leave a comment on my blog. They don't even have to give their name. They can do it anonymously, and I'll get back to them so long as it's a sensible and legitimate point they're making. And you can debate as well, even if people disagree with me and want to have a back and forth discussion about things. You can do that, and you can do it in a civilised manner, and it's more comprehensive than the mainstream media. When we go on for interviews, sometimes it's just for a minute and a half, whereas on a blog you can be comprehensive. You can be concise if you want. If you want to put a small thing up, a small clip or whatever, you can do that. There's flexibility and freedom with it. It didn't win us this election because it's about much more than that. What won us the election fundamentally was us knocking on doors. But that aside, it's helped define us as a different type of candidate.
So to wrap up here, what's next for Reform Jersey?
Well, the first thing Nick and I have to do now is find a way of conveying some sort of gratitude to the people that elected us, and to show that we are open and we are going to take on their cases and we're going to look out for them. I think what we want to do in about a month's time is hold an open drop-in session, maybe one evening in town, for people to come and hear from us, for people to come and give us their views and find out more about us, but also to find out more about Reform Jersey. Reform Jersey now has several elected states members. We also have our supporters who come out. This by-election was a good trial run for that. We've had people who will deliver leaflets for us, people who will knock on doors for us. What we need to do now is open ourselves and say, right, if you share our values and you share our commitment to progressive 21st century politics, we want you to come on board with us, and we want to help you join us, maybe even stand for election yourself, and we'll help you with that. And that's what we need at the moment, is for people to come forward now and join us.
I've stood before 2008, 2011. My politics haven't changed. So what changed this time? Partly it's the crisis since 2008. It has made people realise there has to be alternative politics. My politics have remained the same. So in a sense, they're making sense in changed circumstances. And I've got to really thank my supporters, and I've got to understand that we had an organisation that delivered the votes. We tapped into social networks, communities, small groups, individuals who had contacts, and they entrusted in us their loyalty, and we have now to repay them with real returns, real hard work to deliver the things that they expect us to deliver.